The 13th of October 2023 is the day the entire indie animation industry changed forever. For the second time. The first was the release of Has-Been Hotel. It managed to stay relevant for 5 whole years while everyone waited patiently for the show's release. Has-Been's pilot came out all the way back in 2019, and back then, indie pilots weren't anywhere near as common. Now, you can't even go a week without another one dropping. There are entire companies dedicated to funding indie cartoons now. Like Glitch Productions, who had released one of the most popular indie cartoons that was also animated in 3D, Murder Drones. This YouTuber who makes music or something pitched a show to the company and it got rejected. Wait, what? One elevator pitch, a teaser, and 2 years later, and the backup plan was ready for the world to see. Its creator, Gooseworks, was reasonably worried about her show releasing. But let's be so for real. With the support the teaser got alone, what could go wrong? In the span of like 3 years, the Amazing Digital Circus has surpassed expectations that anyone could have possibly had for an indie cartoon on YouTube. It's also getting a theatrical release in the only place that matters, London. Each episode on YouTube gets millions of views. It's definitely expanded Glitch's reach and opened the door for, I don't know, basically every other indie show that'll come after it. It isn't without its detractors though. The show felt untouchable until a bunch of people suddenly decided the show wasn't good anymore. People were saying it was overrated, that it was never good in the first place. So I decided to ask the question, are they not good any now? Are my scripts written by ChatGPT or something? My name is Ty, or Bored Oranges, and this is my review of the Amazing Digital Circus. And nothing else. After rewatching the show for this video, I have come to the conclusion that the Amazing Digital Circus is... It's pretty good. The series starts with someone... You've seen the show, let's be so for real. For the like 3 people watching this video who somehow haven't seen the biggest indie cartoon on the site, put headset on, get transported to digital world, you cannot leave. Oh no! An NPC named Kane is holding the characters Kinga, Ragatha, Jax, Zubul, Gangle, Pomni, and Taif Talarico Mark hostage. This is mainly because his original creators tried to ditch him.
I think I accidentally killed Kane.
Holy shit.
I can't believe they let that get past the censor. A premise like that alone would have hooked a lot of people. But what really makes Digital Circus stand out is how it invites the viewer to look deeper into its world. Something as simple as a character's name foreshadows their inevitable fate by the end of the series. Like Kane, who gets his name from the controversial adaptation of Has-Been Hotel, the Bible. In that one, Cain is jealous of his brother Abel for his relationship with God. God exiles Cain, who then builds a city for himself, which mirrors Cain in the show. Abandoned by his creators for overwriting the better AI they made, and trapping them in a circus to desperately try and gain their love. Each character has a vast inner world that we're never gonna be able to see, but the show does such a good job at hinting at why they're the way they are. Gangle doesn't get that much screen time relative to other characters, and there's still a lot we can gather about her. She wears a mask with a smile for minutes at a time, hang out with Zubul while Gangle look out! Her dreams of being a manga artist were washed away by the wave of expectations placed on many young adults. So she settled for a management position at some fast food place. The mask she wears has accepted that this is the best she can do. So she gives up on her dream. The circus disrupts the aimless life she pretended to enjoy and allows her to grow past that. She starts getting back into art, stands up to her peers that mistreated her, and becomes a healthier person. And that's just one of the side characters. This large cast of cartoon people all have different issues that they're working through, and that's really good. Digital Circus isn't afraid to explore things that you don't really see anywhere else, like the crushing fear of being forgotten after you're gone. The pilot wastes no time introducing this aspect of the show too. Pomni's breakdown in the pilot is just one of the ways a person in the circus reacts to a top 5 worst situation. Kinga has been a part of the circus since its creation, and the only way he has managed to stick around as long as he has is by going half insane. It's impossible to get a good conversation out of him without near or complete darkness. So you get the funny random moments, but also the best scenes in the show with this guy.
We still need to find out where Nutso went before we can rest easy.
I'm right behind you, aren't I?
With the release of a new episode, the depths of these people only get deeper, and I love that. Nobody feels like they're left behind. Having one standout character is already impressive, but Digital Circus has managed to make almost every character a contender for the best one in the show. This is even more amazing considering a lot of this stuff can be gleaned from just the pilot alone. It does what I think only the very best pilots on YouTube do, which isn't just entertain me or get me excited for the next episode, it's making me think independently about your world. If you can have me writing up bloody fanfiction in my head off your pilot, then you've done an amazing job. I and many others were frothing at the mouth waiting for the second episode of the show, wondering where we were gonna go after the strong ending to the pilot. It was confident enough to let us ask questions about the story without the possibility of an answer to them ever being confirmed. This would present a problem. Digital Circus was confirmed to be getting a full season, but when was the next episode coming out? What were the hundreds of millions of people who saw the pilot gonna do until then? Well, they'd begin to make stuff. And a lot of stuff they did make. Fanfics, original songs, fan art, god, AUs? All of this content made for a show that only had a pilot at the time was staggering. But also so mesmerizing. While waiting for episode 2, your only options were to sit there and tweak until it came out, or go online and interact with other fans of the show in order to get your fix of Digital Circus, House of Horrors, complete season 1 through 6 plus sliced version, plus extra episodes, F&F. The internet allowing for such easy contact with other fans of something might be the best thing about it. You can talk with billions of people around the world 24/7 about the thing you can't stop thinking about. With the huge gap between episode releases, the nicheness of the show relative to something on network TV, and 99% of the discussion being online, this led everyone to one place. Whether they intended to or not, they were being forced to interact with the fandom of this show, one that was growing bigger and bigger with each passing day. It was really strange seeing the cast behind the show so readily available to their audience. Like Gooseworks letting everyone know which episode focuses on which character, or just answering general questions people might have about the show. Her Twitter is really interesting because it's mostly shitposts, but then one day she'll ask for criticism of her writing, which I think is really cool. If I did have to talk about any criticisms, I think I have an issue with how samey the Revelations characters have is depicted. Typically, it's a one-on-one discussion that seems to be completely separate from any outside interference, and they just talk. I have no issue with this in concept. It's a very human way for something like this to go. But every character gets this type of scene, and it gets a little repetitive. There are so many ways to have a person reach these realizations, like a sudden epiphany in a desperate situation, or hell, even regression after a talk would shake things up even more. Another is probably with Pomni herself. She doesn't really feel like a strong enough character to be the main character of the show. With everyone else, there's a lot of backstory they're given. But with Pomni, all we know is that she used to work as an accountant for a supermarket. I'm not calling it a grocery store. Other than that, she's pretty empty. This is reflected in her personal torture by Kane. Everyone gets these really personal and super messed up scenarios, and Pomni has a few crocodiles gnaw at her. I know Gummy Goo had a big impact on her life, but that was all about deep stuff like a person's value, a second death after you're forgotten. You know, actually heavy stuff. Zubul was put into a dysphoric torture chamber that cleverly uses their insecurities against them. Everyone's hells and characters are just a lot more thought out in comparison to Pomni's, which sucks for her. Oh, that's the end of the video. Yeah, I just wanted to make a short 10-minute video to celebrate the movie coming out. There's nothing left to see here. I hope everyone has a great time watching the film. Bye! I did just now. I did. I don't make normal videos, I never do. This was supposed to be a simple video about the digital circus, but then everything bad that could have possibly happened just did. Now, the video essayist you're watching is about to reveal that the real topic of this video isn't what it seemed at a glance. It ain't about the show, it's about the people who watch it. This video is about the fan base of the Amazing Digital Circus. You know, I tried to hide this with a few fancy tricks like putting Pomni on the screen, which is basically dangling keys in front of you. But this video is, obviously, about the fan base of the Amazing Digital Circus. I feel like anybody who hears the things I'm gonna talk about and gets personally offended are probably a part of the problem, or just very self-conscious. If you're the latter, then come on! You've got nothing to be self-conscious about. You are the greatest person ever! Way better than that other dude, and you might be a once-in-a-generation human. I absolutely need to make you my entire personality. How are so few people talking about how fucking amazing you are? Glazing is the most radically neutral act a person could ever do on the internet. Someone is always doing it out of a pure, unshaking devotion or a seething hatred. It's either supremely hilarious watching someone do Sonic Colors tricks on a piece of media.
I will kill the game. Oh my God, my boy say he's in the Aston doing dono.
Or totally insufferable. There are no half measures for this action, and I love this. Digital Circus is great, but you can tell that some of the fans of the show have watched like maybe 2 things in their whole lives. Digital Circus single-handedly made their grades get better in school, fixed their parents' rough marriage, and walked their dog yesterday. It's not just the best thing that they've seen. Ooh, no. It's the best thing anyone in the history of ever could have made. And we, yes, we all agree. It won't take too long to find some sort of post sensationalizing the hell out of a scene in this show. And my question is always, do you watch other shows? This isn't a unique thing for just Pom Pom's Bizarre Adventure. I think this same line of thinking applies to anyone who hasn't seen or experienced a larger amount of media. You find something that's actually really good and stake the credibility of you and your 200-something other oomphies on the idea that it's flawless. Despite being a Breaking Bad fan, I have never seen a group of people so desperate to prove to everybody that they have good media literacy. Digital Circus has been forced to live up to this unrealistic image in order to protect these people's ego. Now, Digital Circus is an anti-has-been hotel, fighting back against the show because one swears and the other one doesn't. One actually has good writing and the other one doesn't. Humph. Imagine being a has-been hotel fan. Digital Circus is the first good indie cartoon, the one immune from every other attack they'll throw at the show's peers. I'm sure people won't turn on the show the moment it's convenient. That'd be crazy. It's the first 3D indie cartoon to reach the heights it's at. Imagine how euphoric it'll be to say the thing I'm a fan of is in theaters. This proves how smart I am and how good my takes are. Right, Jax Ryan?
Aren't you forgetting someone, Ty?
Oh, Jesus. Jesus Christ.
Do not be afraid, my child.
What
I'm
is
here,
that?
but my back just hurts so much.
What? What?
Now that you misspell edited twice, by the way.
Yeah, I think I've been editing for too long.
My back does hurt, though. Why would you... Wait, I feel amazing now.
And it's all thanks to the flexispot C7 Morpher. I spend a lot of time on my chair doing just about everything you could imagine, so I can't sacrifice any comfort. The C7 Morpher has everything I need from a chair. Flexible, amazing lumbar support, height adjusting for my stupid elongated back. It's a lot more sophisticated than just lifting and lowering the neck part of the chair. You know what I'm talking about, right? The headrest, yes, there it is. You can shift its positioning to get it right where you need it to be. It's built out of a material that is sturdy without being uncomfortable too. You are able to tilt and shift around 3 sections of the back part of the chair to make everything feel as comfortable as possible for each person. You can also mess around with the depth of the seat too. It's made to feel comfortable while still giving your ass air to breathe. It kind of feels like a hammock. Same thing for the armrest too. Lord, this is such a good chair. Just like everything else, you're able to adjust the armrests in a million different ways to get them in the perfect spot just for you. It even healed up my Jax toy. I think the C7 Morpher is the best chair for the new age. Regress into it and you'll finally start to enjoy those 12-hour crunch sessions. So why not check them out now? Use my code C750 to get $50 off the C5 or C7 Morpher chair. The C5 is a highlight for anyone working on a budget but still want something with some quality. So yeah, check out the link in the description and pinned comment. Anyway, back to the video. It's annoying when you read something like this already, but stuff only gets worse when anything happens to slightly shake up this golden image of Digital Circus that only exists in these people's minds. If you don't agree with every writing decision in this show, then expect detailed threads explaining how you're a smelly poopy head who doesn't have a functioning brain. People have gotten harassed off the internet for daring to say anything negative about the show, which is totally fine actually. Fans don't have the time to treat you like a human being when they need to fuel their egos. The same thing happens to the group of people who blindly hate the show too. If you're positive about any aspect of the show, there will be someone who needs to tell you that whatever you're happy about is actually awful and problematic. Oh, and also that you're a smelly poopy butthead. Like I said earlier, these two types of people are cut from the same cloth. They've both decided loving or hating the show means you have good media literacy, and refuse to acknowledge any take that doesn't align with theirs. This just results in the most stubborn people you could ever deal with, who will lash out at anyone who dares to say anything about the precious show made just for them. And nowhere is that more easy to see than with Jax.
All right, let me be real here. Why do you care about that? Whether we like it or not, we just end up falling into our archetypes. So what's the point of pretending we're not? There's nothing more to me. So please, just stop looking.
Jax Digital Circus is probably the most important character in the show. I am personally indifferent to the character of Jax, but whenever a new episode comes out, his name dominates the conversation. Ask any fan of the show and they will have something to say about the funny rabbit. However, chinwags about this guy since Oh wow, the second episode. Since the second episode, discussions about Jax have been kinda... Jax is a victim of what I would call the, oh, but he's just my scrimbloification of horrible men. He's, like, actually a bully the entire time.
Ladies first. No, wait, why would I say that?
His behavior only gets worse in later episodes, but due to that massive gap between the pilot and the second episode, people just decided that he was supposed to be a different character than he ended up being. You won't see it as much now, but when the second episode came out, you had people genuinely saying the writers assassinated Jax's character, and that he was way more cruel than he was in the pilot, which is funny, because if this was him being more tame, then episode 2 should have had him acting like Homelander to all the characters. The first Jaxgate occurred because people thought he was supposed to be my favorite type of character, a Tumblr sexy man. My parents watch these videos. Well, for the uncool people in my audience who probably have a father figure, a Tumblr sexy man, doesn't really have a set definition. Usually, just a character who wears some sort of facade that reveals a more tragic truth later on. Like Sans, a guy who hides his nihilism through shitty puns. Reagan is a con artist who covers up his below mediocre life with flashy tricks and a confident mask. All Tumblr sexy men have this in common, even Alistair. The big trait here is how these characters have cultivated an audience of people who, well, they say things like, "Oh my god, he's so tragic. I just want to hold my scrimblow until it's all better." Defending their behavior because of their good intentions or tragic past is a given too. Jax, to me, is supposed to take this concept and flip it on its head. He is what I'm calling the anti-Tumblr sexy man. Jax has all of the superficial aspects you'd expect. Tragic backstory, jovial facade, twink, but he is lacking one fatal element that all of the examples I listed before had. A moment where they realize they're bigger than the bit. For Sans, it's him choosing to do something. His laziness had reached its limits when he realized the player was gonna destroy the entire world. For Reagan, it's realizing that he actually cares about his student and wants to be a positive role model to him. Jax is halfway there. Like the others, he's aware of his tragic situation, but unlike the rest, he never ever has a moment where he allows himself to be bigger than that. When he's worn down by a single day of working in fast food, which is so real by the way, he has to snap back into character and blow everyone off. He treats everyone like shit constantly and never apologizes. Okay, so I lied to you again. Oh, great Scott, the video essayist lied to you twice? Yes, and I don't feel bad for it at all, because you see, Jax is actually not in the wrong for any of the things he did. He actually did them to, I need you to follow me for this, he did this to help people. He only bullies Gangle because he wants to toughen her up, obviously, prepping her for the real world that won't be as nice to her. He's only trying to lighten the mood for everyone in the circus, especially after he lost one of his close and dear friends. He's just a little tone deaf. It's actually Ragatha who's really messing with things. She's toxic. She uses everyone to fuel her ego. She's fake. I mean, did you see what she said to Jax? Digging up his trauma like that? What a devil. She was really crossing a line in that scene. Jax Digital Circus?
He's the devil.
If it's not obvious yet, the second lie was a lie. It's lieception. I'm actually doing a very clever bit where I parrot popular talking points by people who watch the show with no audio on.
I care about you and anyone else in this circus. I'm the one who causes fun. For fun. End of—
No, but you die.
I remember a video that somehow defends every time Jax does something negative in episode 5. The lengths it goes to warp the actual scene happening needs to be studied. Here is Jax using Pomni to get back at Ragatha for an earlier comment she made. But in this person's eyes, Jax is actually trying to befriend Pomni, as seen by his comments made towards everyone else. You see, if you just ignore the actual scene, Jax is being really sweet. He was secretly trying to gauge Pomni's reactions to things. Yes, he said he put Pomni on the spot earlier for fun, but if you just plug your ears, he's actually trying to figure out Pomni's favorite color. Duh! The levels of mental gymnastics that need to occur for any of this to make a lick of sense is baffling. We can also interpret Jax talking with evil Pomni as him trying to figure out what Pomni isn't. Look, I know episode 6 wasn't out when this comment was made, but I don't know, maybe the guy who's mean to everyone all the time was just being a dick? Episode 5 was Jaxgate 2 because it validated everyone who was saying Jax was an uwu squimblow by... Fucking what am I doing of my life? It validated everyone who was saying Jax was an uwu scrimblow by having him do the bare minimum you should expect out of someone talking to you. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he doesn't exist. Episode 6 only adds on to what I was already saying earlier before I got distracted again. He devalues everyone in the circus into singular archetypes to cope. He's aware of how he's acting, but never truly drops the facade long enough to make a meaningful change. And that's genius. And yet, that is never what anybody wants to talk about. Somehow, no matter what, Jax is seen as nothing more than this tragic figure who's trying to make the best out of a bad situation. The nice guy trying to uplift everyone with his jokes. He's supposed to be the funny guy.
Stop! I'm just a misunderstood little chicken fetus in an egg that needs to be cracked open. Well, I am not. You are my playthings, and I get joy out of making you suffer. If I led you on, it was just to make this part hurt you more.
In this scene, Jax basically looks at the camera and says, "I am not your scrimblow," and this seemingly opened a lot of people's eyes to the type of person Jax was supposed to be. But I think this worked far too well. It kinda created the exact same problem in reverse. So instead of delusional defenses for Jax, it was blind hatred for anything. This was probably the worst time for this too, because Glitch Productions were suddenly no longer considered to be an indie studio by most people. They weren't the bright new alternative to the stale stuff we were used to. They were now the status quo. And with this new position established, the way people treated this company was about to drastically change. Iron Lung is a cool movie on just a conceptual level. You know, YouTuber Mark Guy Plyer directed a movie that was actually shown in theaters. Unfortunately, it was only in the US, since I'm sure that's where most of his audience is from. And screening companies are notoriously very strict with films that they let play in their theaters. It's not a quality concern. That's never been an issue. But a movie will fail to be shown in cinemas if the people making them aren't clouted enough. Markiplier managing to even do what he did is a massive step forward for indie creators as a whole. Sure, there were fans who were upset that they couldn't see the movie in cinemas because of the limited screenings, but they understood that Markiplier did what he could. Glitch is attempting to do the same thing for the Amazing Digital Circus. This, once again, would be a massive leap for indie creators. If Digital Circus manages to do well in cinemas, we could start to see more content that aren't from the same 5 companies anymore, which would be huge. It's very similar to what Markiplier was doing. But that was cute. This is gonna need HR to get involved. First of all, the movie's poster made people very upset because a certain bunny was a major part of it. Despite Jax being the closest thing the show has to antagonist after Kane, people were shocked that Jax, I get joy out of making people suffer, Digital Circus was a main character along with the protagonist, Pomni. You had people running to call Digital Circus the Jax show, to accuse the writers of shafting other characters so Jax could get more screen time. time, saying this came out of nowhere and they weren't gonna watch the movie because Jax was a focal point. Obviously, this didn't really last because sane people pointed out that no duh the movie would focus a lot on Jax considering he's the main character? This wasn't a colossally major issue. People moved on very quickly from this. I'll be real, I only bring it up as the appetizer before the main course of endless stupidity that I decided to make my business for no reason. Because people weren't done getting mad at the movie before it released. The next catastrophic, world-ending issue was that the Amazing Digital Circus was only being screened in North America. Oh no! This left out a lot of regions who also wanted to watch the movie in theaters, like Europe and the rest. But I don't care about them because I'm not from there. Sometimes foreshadowing is very obvious. The new thing to be mad at after Jaxgate 2.5 was how Glitch Productions was betraying their fans. Despite people all around the world supporting the show and the company, they only cared about their biggest market share, America. South America got the movie too, but the rest of the fans would have to burn and wait a whole 2 weeks for the movie to be released for free on YouTube. This is extra problematic because Glitch is an Australian company. They aren't even letting the animators who worked on the show watch the movie in cinemas. How dare they? Gooseworks, yes, you specifically need to fix this. You know, I think we should boycott this movie. If you have a, basic understanding of how the average cinema works, you would realize how this is not an issue on Glitch's end. Getting a movie into major cinemas in just one region is a Herculean feat, especially when you're releasing the movie for free on YouTube 2 weeks later. Most companies will laugh you out the door for having that little of a gap between theatrical and streaming releases. The fact that any cinemas agree to these terms kinda blows my mind. Digital Circus fans would have you believe that Glitch doesn't care about the rest of their audience and that they're really greedy. But wait a minute. Surely showing the movie in more places would make them more money. So, how is a limited release making them greedy? The math doesn't math. I'll be so for real. The reason this situation was getting so big was because the movie wasn't being shown to an area these fans were in. It's not because it screws over most of the fans. Asshole. It's because they really want to watch the movie the moment it comes out so they can tweet about it. They don't want to be spoiled, and that's fair. But these same people wouldn't give a shit if Glitch announced that the movie was being shown in their local theaters. Their tune would change from, oh, Glitch is greedy to, oh, well, they're doing their best, hee. Oh, Ty, you're being kind of unrealistic. I can prove it. If less people watch it in cinemas, that tells companies to not take indie media seriously because they don't have a big enough reach. Boycotting a movie because you might get spoiled is just... I can't mince my words here. Fucks the whole industry. It reeks of entitlement. I'll say it. The fans want Glitch to pick between enabling other future indie projects to hopefully be screened worldwide or do nothing so fans don't get spoiled. When I lay it out like that, it's very easy to see how unnecessary the outrage really was. I couldn't find most of the big tweets about this, mainly because the people who made them deleted them shortly after finding out the movies were available in their local cinemas too. Funny how that works. I find all of this so ironic because a lot of criticism that gets aimed at other pieces of media are deflected with the whole "it's an indie developer / studio" line, which is a reasonable thing to say in a lot of cases. Indie things will almost always have substantially less resources than established ones. But for some reason, specifically whenever the indie company Glitch Productions makes a mistake, that line barely shows up. Fans complain that the movie isn't showing in theaters. Glitch rushes to give the fans what they want, and then when things go south, Korea, those same fans run to call the company incompetent. Glitch doesn't want to sacrifice the artistic integrity of the show to comply with censorship laws, and that makes them the bad guys somehow. It reached a point where no matter what was being said, hundreds, no, thousands of people would pick the statements apart to find something to complain about. People will dig through your entire past just to take more shots at you and continue to feed into the never-ending loop of negativity. And that would reach its not-so-shocking climax with one clip. Originally this section was gonna entirely focus on how the fanbase treated people like Michael Kovac and Gooseworks, because I thought fandom culture as a whole was heading in a scary direction, but I overestimated how much work I could get done in a week and had to delay the video just long enough for me to watch the Amazing Digital Circus movie. It's probably also why I look like shit, and we're not gonna comment on it. I have not shaved. I'm so sorry. TLDR on the whole fandom thing, people get way too invested into the lives of figures they don't know, and I find it very strange. But that doesn't matter because this movie completely rocked me. The last act isn't perfect. I do have some gripes about certain scenes, like Jax abstracting off screen was a perfect anticlimax for him because he constantly hogged screen time and made everything about him. A major part of the film, basically the rest of it actually, is focused on Jax's backstory, which kinda made me hit my limit on Digital Circus not being the Jax show. Oh, right, spoilers. I do genuinely believe the amount of screen time Jax receives in this movie is a problem. I think the same therapy room stuff should have been thrown out for the finale, but any of those hang-ups fade away almost instantly once we get into Jax's backstory. I won't give you the play-by-play, but Jax and Ribbit talk about regrets, and Jax reveals that he might have harmed his mother after coming out to her when poorly. Oh god, I hope I explained that well. Initially, I wasn't really sold on this. Jax being a self-insert didn't bother me until this moment. But in just a moment later, I was glad Jax was such a blatant self-insert because his story is so compelling. All of his pent-up emotions, the way he distances himself from Ribbit to the point of causing their abstraction, his multiple masks he used to hide his real self. I stopped seeing Jax here and I started seeing Gooseworks. Suddenly, the therapy talk and Jax's screen time made complete sense. To me, it felt like Gooseworks was finally being able to vent out a bunch of frustrations she had in her life. This could have so easily felt self-indulgent. Oh, the creator is hijacking the thing they made to make it all about them. But from the very start, Digital Circus has always been about Gooseworks. I mean this in a totally positive way as well. She took a piece of herself and used it to fill every character with so much life. The reason their inner worlds feel so real is because they are. Without going full psychoanalysis mode, every issue a character has can be linked back to Gooseworks herself or probably someone she knows. It's one big therapy session with a moral I absolutely agree with. You've probably noticed by now that I'm not using movie footage because it's not out yet when the video comes out. So you're just gonna have to look at my fucking chopped face, whatever. Let's keep going. Even when things are at their lowest point, even when you've done something totally unforgivable and everyone has abandoned you, there's still a light at the end of the tunnel. There's still a positive spin you can put on the situation. And I remember the day I went to watch the movie. I went in with a pretty cynical lens, but it was seeing a bunch of cosplayers and people who were just excited to watch this film. All of this passion, it melted my icy, cringy little heart shit, the movie almost made me cry. At first, I was gonna rant about how creators being close to their audience is a recipe for disaster, but that past version of me was completely wrong. Gooseworks being open enough to let us see these issues she's had to deal with through the show is why it's so good. It's why people can relate to the characters so much. It's why they get so bothered about their favorites getting treated right. I might be way off the money when I say this, but the way to get the best enjoyment of this show is to be a little parasocial. You have to be able to relate to Gooseworks to really see her full vision for these characters. The Amazing Digital Circus is incredible. We know it's the biggest indie cartoon, a trailblazer, but at its core, it's someone sharing a delicate part of themselves with millions of people and all of them resonating with that. And for better or for worse, I can't hate it because it's that raw and unpredictable factor of the internet that allows for these things of this quality to be made. I guess the conclusion for this video is that fandom culture fucking sucks, but it also allows for endless creativity, bonds that cross any border. It allows this circus to exist, and I wouldn't want it any other way. Thanks for watching. Friends, that's the end of the scripted part of the section, and you can tell because I immediately said, what am I fucking... This is my job, and it's like, no improv skills, you know? First of all, I'm gonna give a big apology to everybody who was expecting the video to come out 2 weeks ago. It's on me. I just thought I could do more than I actually could. Honestly, I'm glad it did get delayed because it allowed me to really gather my thoughts about the movie. So, silver lining, I guess. Oh, right, the video's over. I can take this shit off. Holy fuck. I can dress like a proper adult again. This is great. You're probably wondering if I wore this to the premiere. No, I don't have the confidence to pull this off, especially because like, it's too small. Like, I raise my hand and all, it just immediately drops down. I should have bought a size up, but then the fucking, this here, this I Can Fix Him shirt is like way too big, so I just couldn't wear it. It's just all cooked, to be honest. Also, if you're wondering about all the glitch merch, no, this isn't my friends or anything. I bought all of this and I found out past the return window. So I don't know, if people are at fucking VidCon or some shit and I go, I'll be handing this stuff out because I really don't have the space for it. I don't know, I feel like I've yapped your ear off when I could have just made this a community tab post. So I'm gonna stop doing that and thank my awesome patrons who should now be on screen. I wanna give a special thank you to, oh my God, there's a lot of you this time. Just Demo 07, Maya, Gabby L, Wise Pizza, Amorphian, Doreki, Louise? I'm so bad at this. I'm gonna guess Louise. If I'm wrong, I'm so sorry. Just correct me. Doob, Jack27, Buxer, Punas, Onion, Nekocho Official, Obscuroni, and Israfael. I hope everyone has an amazing day. One last thing, if you planned on sending me any harassment, I just want to make that easy for you. My Twitter is Nux_Taku. Have a great day. See you, lads.